With having received the worst rating in the history of the 2-decade franchise and with recording the lowest ever player count for the series on a new release, Black Ops 7 is what many call the worst ever Call of Duty, and people are saying it is nothing short of a stain on the franchise. However, many in the community are saying the hate is overblown and people are just jumping on the bandwagon, and in fact, hardcore fans are saying that this is the best release in the COD franchise to date.
Oh my gosh, look at the way he's holding the character!
So with such polarizing camps of thought, surely one of them has to be right? Right? Or maybe neither of them are. And that's what we're going to find out by digging real deep in this video. In fact, during my time digging and researching, I kind of actually found out how Black Ops 7 might just be the most important release ever in this franchise. So let's jump in. Okay, so firstly, before we even start talking about the gameplay, the multiplayer, and everything else in general, I want to talk about how awful setting this game up was to play. I, for this video, wanted to play it on my PC. First mistake. While severely ill. That's not important, I just thought you would want to know. And I thought, okay, I'll get it off the Game Pass, which I paid £25 for, by the way. And so I downloaded this just over 150 gigabytes of mess. And when that finished downloading, I tried to play the game, but of course, no, you can't play the game without an Activision account, even though you bought the game and own the game. You have to have an Activision account to play the thing you paid for. So I make an Activision account, which takes me all the way over to my emails because, hey, you know, that's just how this works. So I go all the way over to my emails to make the account to sign into that and make the account to sign into that. You know what I mean? I then had to go over to the website, which, by the way, is god awful. So after things not loading, working, and taking 20 years to properly load, I finally got my account working and all my stuff. But wait, of course, I had to authenticate the account, which took even more time. And by the way, did I mention I had my friends waiting for me to play? I then, after all this stuff, which takes longer than the explanation says, by the way, or how I've explained it, it took longer. I go to load up the game, and it's saying, oh, you have to activate a safe boot thing before you even play the game. I'm not a computer guy. I don't know what that means. So I go and look it up and everyone's like, this is an insane thing to do. You shouldn't have to do this. I've never seen a game master do this. Everyone online who's tried to play some PC who doesn't activate the safe boot thing, I don't know what it is. I'm not a PC guy. Everyone's like, whoa, the game wanting to do this? That's not an okay thing. It's not an okay thing. So after all this, it was just useless. But right, when I tell you, this took so much time. I don't even know how much time it took, but it took so much time. Let's just say hours passed, right? So after hours passed, and I was still ill, by the way, still dying, not relevant, just thought you would want to know, I give up. And I just asked my good friend Beckham, hey, bro, can I please borrow the account for this video? And Beckham graciously said yes. Beckham, if you're watching this, I love you. And so finally, after hours, I was finally ready to load up the multiplayer. Okay, yeah, so I'm not gonna lie, multiplayer is, it's just kind of It's just kind of I saw people online saying the multiplayer for Black Ops 7 was a sin to the series. It's one of the worst things you can ever play. And I'm gonna be real, it's just kind of You know, as I'm gonna say, a sane voice. I think the multiplayer is just kind of flirting with the side of boring. Firstly, I just want to say this game is very ugly and very cheap looking. The entire game's menus, UI, and aesthetic all feels very cheap, and visually and graphically, the game just looks ugly. Like, aesthetically, this is not a pretty game. And it's important to note, for this game, I played it on a base PS5, everything was downloaded, the textures, the shaders, everything was locked and loaded, and the game just looked ugly. Like, I think whether you like this game or love it or hate it or just dislike it or just don't care for it, I think you have to admit this is a very visually, aesthetically, just package as a whole, the package as a whole, it is an ugly looking game. And also, I want to say, even though everything was quote unquote working, half the time when I was playing, the textures just didn't load. And I don't even know why, like it just they wouldn't load. See, I really can't understand or pinpoint why Black Ops 7 looks the way it does, but if I had to take a guess, it's almost like it's a filter on the screen. Like, let's compare Black Ops 7 to the other CODs. Like, you see what I mean? It just, look at the way it looks. There's a certain, I don't want to say clayness or muddiness, but it's visually not as sharp as other COD games, even though this is supposed to be a big step up, quote unquote. But other than the game looking ugly and cheap, the multiplayer is okay. It's alright. I don't think movement is nearly as bad as people thought it would be or are even making out, but I can understand it when people are hitting clips like this.
No, bro, they're demons. Excel's a demon.
There are 16 core multiplayer maps, probably a bit more now because of the DLC by the time I finish actually uploading this video. And I'm also not including 20v20 because who cares about that? And some of the maps are okay. Imprint was pretty cool, and I'm actually not gonna lie, the infamous Cat Cafe map is actually a nice looking and fun to play map. I don't know why. The Cat Cafe was a feature they thought we needed to see, but it is actually a fun to play map and it looks nice. But that's really about it, because Flagship, more like that map is shit, you know what I'm saying? Hey-o! That was really stupid. I shouldn't include that. And honestly, the rest are fine. You've got 13 new maps and 3 odd ones, those being Hijacked, Raid Express, and Nuketown. I mean, please let this map... Why are we still putting Nuketown in this game? Please let Nuketown die. Please, please, please. Okay, tangent time. From its first time appearing in COD in 2010, it has appeared 10 times since, and let's be real, it probably will appear more because it's Nuketown. But please, can we just let this map die? I just want to quickly say, I like Nuketown. It's too much. 10 is too much. But yeah, the new maps are fine. Nothing bad, nothing amazing, nothing crazy, just decent, I would say. What I will say though is thanks to the movement, oh my god, do maps feel smaller than they already are? Like, especially the old maps like Hijacked and Raid Express, which, you know, they are not built for this new fucking Omni movement. Wow, do these maps just feel like a clusterfuck? But now to talk about the gameplay. It's kind of just the same thing we've been playing for the past like 10 years, and that is a problem we will get to later in the video. The guns feel alright, nothing amazing. There's no like, oh my god, this gun feels cool and sounds cool. I used a wide variety of guns and they were just all alright. The AK-27 felt pretty cool, but it didn't have that feel of an AK. It didn't feel crazy, like, oh my god. Like, you know, in MW, when you had an AK, you're like, oh my god, I've got an AK. It didn't really have that feel, but yeah, that was a good gun. The movement, which I know a lot of people are scared about, is actually pretty fine. And in fact, I quite liked the responsiveness, and it was very fast-paced, but it was not as bad as I think people thought it was going to be, especially from the trailers. Like, people thought it was going to look like this. But it's actually pretty solid, and the gameplay itself is, you know, just okay. The score streaks are okay. I mean, this is dumb.
Rainmaker.
Hey, if not going to sell me, just let me go.
And I will say on the subject of wall hacks and just that stupid ass score streak, I did run into some hackers, but unfortunately that's just the nature of COD now. You play COD 9 times out of 10, or let's say, not 9 times out of 10, let's say 1 every 5, you probably will run into a hacker in a lobby. It's just COD now. But you see, the problem is, right, I found myself just getting bored of the multiplayer, and that's kind of been the problem with the past 5 CODs. And you get bored very quickly unless you are a COD fanatic. In fact, it's quite hard to comment on this and really say anything new about the gameplay, because if you've played COD in the past 5 years, the chances are you've played this. COD has kind of become just the same thing, different font every year, you know? Do I think people have overreacted with how bad the multiplayer is? Yes. Dreadful? No. Boring and the same thing for the past 5 years? Yeah. If you like COD's multiplayer and you like what they've been doing recently with multiplayer, you will like Black Ops 7's multiplayer. That's multiplayer a lot of times. But also, quick side note, to any of you sick freaks that had not quite dark matter, the thing before it, I don't know what they're calling it now, within the first 5 days of playing this game, get help, you sick freak! I'm trying to play, and I've got people treating this game like a 9 to 5 after their 9 to 5. But yeah, with the multiplayer being decent but boring, why is the game getting so much hate? Like, surely the rest of the game is actually pretty okay, right? Maybe even good.
Fire on it! Shoot some damage!
Shoot it! Shoot that son of a bitch!
Okay, now whilst I can understand a lot of people think the multiplayer is getting overhated, and in fact some may even say they really like this Black Ops 7 multiplayer because one man's trash is another man's treasure, the campaign in this game is a fucking joke. I feel like when people talk about COD, right, there's always a hint of rose-tinted glasses, right? Nostalgia is a damning beast. Like, nostalgia is so deadly. People act like Transit was a loved and highly revered map, when in actual fact, the community acted like this map had kicked them and beaten them down for months and weeks when it came out. Months and weeks? No, weeks and months. You get what I mean? However, one thing nostalgia hasn't actually blinded or made people think was better than it actually was is the COD campaigns in the older Call of Duties. I mean, my God, this series has brought us some of the greatest and most iconic moments in gaming with its campaigns. From Black Ops 1 with the numbers Mason, to MW with Soap, what kind of name is Soap? To some of the highly controversial moments. And really just so many incredible campaigns and even characters. I mean, hell, Captain Price is one of the most iconic characters in gaming, and he came from this franchise. The Call of Duty campaigns used to be highly revered from both fans and critics for its amazing way to not only tell a truly gripping and emotional story, but to also mix the COD formula of fun and tense gameplay with its well thought out and well written stories. Now sadly, COD campaigns don't really do that because my God, is Black Ops 7's campaign neither well thought out, well written, or just fun. This COD campaign is unironically not only an insult to the franchise, but it's an insult to even include this in a paid for product. I feel bad for the COD players that only play the campaign because I'm not even joking, this is objectively a terrible doesn't even begin to explain how bad this COD campaign is. Oh my God, it's so bad, it's not even funny. First, for some unknown reason, Woods and Mason are still getting brought up because, hey, 2010 is calling. We still want our characters back. Also, you play as Mason's son, who's Jess from Gilmore Girls, and that's not important, but I just couldn't get that out of my head every time I saw him on screen. And the story is just bizarre. Say that again. Like, I fully played it, took all my notes, and I'm struggling to think of what I can even tell you because what I played felt like a fever dream. But basically, to sum it up, you play as Mason's son. I can't, like, this is ridiculous as I'm saying it. You play as Mason's son, and you and his team have been dragged into some weird fight thing with Raul Menendez. Yes, that guy is still also getting brought up, like, oh my God. And that's about as interesting as it gets, because as you play it, you realize, oh my God, this is terrible. And you might be thinking, why is it so terrible? So firstly, the acting is just terrible in this game. No offense to the actors, but my God, it sounds like David is trying to be like Batman or edgy the entire game, and all the dialogue has this Marvel style to it, you know what I mean? And it's just bad. The cutscenes are pretty and well animated, but you would kind of expect that from a company that costs holy sh. And also, I just want to show you how insane this game is and how insane this campaign is in particular, because you may have clicked on this video having already watched some stuff from TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, YouTube, right? Let me just tell you, whatever you see, it's so much worse than you can imagine. Like, for some reason, this game has like proper boss fights. Not like, oh, you got to kill the big boss. Say that again. No, like, you've actually got to kill like a proper boss, like, you know, something like a dungeon raid, like from Destiny or Warframe, and they're all just terrible. Like with Woods, spoilers, I guess, you know, take a second if you want to play this campaign. Please don't. Time on Earth is rare and precious. Don't play the campaign, it's bad. But yeah, you have to fight Woods after you get caught in this weird acid trip dream thing, not exaggerating by the way, and you become like a 80 feet tall plant that you have to fight. Did I mention he's dead also? And not only is it just fucking stupid, it's so easy. It's a shame because some of the environments and settings for this COD campaign are actually quite beautiful. And I even think the concept for the story is actually kind of cool. You find out this weird other group are doing this weird thing with like a scarecrow toxic gas thing. And it, you know, messes with people's brains, makes them attack each other, and it makes you do all this crazy hallucinogenic dream thing. It's cool, it's really cool. And it sounds decent in theory, but unfortunately in practice, it's just bad. Like, I am not exaggerating for the sake of this video. This is genuinely one of the worst things I have ever played. And I played Redfall on launch. And there's just a plethora of problems with this. Like, firstly, it's an online only campaign. So to even do the campaign, you have to join a lobby. Like, what? And you can't even pause the campaign. Like, Activision, what are we doing? And yes, the stuff you see online from this campaign is true. And if you ask, wait, did I just see a giant machete hit someone? Yes, you did. The entire boss fight is even more stupid than just that little clip. Throughout my entire time playing this campaign, I just couldn't shake this feeling of, wow, not only does this feel cheap, again, the entire game does, but this campaign really felt like a PvE mode added on top of Warzone, which is what I think is the most insane thing I realized whilst playing this. Like this entire section when you get thrown on the Avalon map, beautiful map by the way, just felt like a Warzone map. In fact, I'd be willing to bet, even if you took an experienced COD player or an experienced Warzone player, if you changed the HUD around for the campaign, on that Avalon map section, they probably would just think it's a PvE mode for Warzone. And that's the saddest statement I think I've made yet for this video. We went from the premium feeling, highly intelligent and engaging stories and fun characters to a mode which feels like a PvE special event for Warzone with terrible writing, terrible story and just a shockingly boring gameplay system for this campaign. The truth is the campaign feels lazy, messy, boring and even the actual playing part was boring. So with an okay multiplayer and just a terrible, I mean terrible COD campaign, one of the worst in the franchise, is there anything that is saving or can even save this game? Okay, so now we get into the final part of what we'll be talking about today, which is the zombies. And I gotta say, whilst I'm conflicted, I think zombies is pretty great. Firstly, I want to get the negatives out the way, because whilst I think this mode is good, I think there's a lot here which doesn't work, but overall it's fun, right? Firstly, I think bringing back the old characters is cheap and boring, and honestly, playing it safe. I know the Dark Aether storyline, or Ether, people aren't really a huge fan of the characters themselves, but like bringing back the old characters, especially when they had a perfect send-off in 4, just feels cheap. It's almost like the people behind COD are saying like, hey guys, remember your favorite 4 people? They're back! Guys, they're back! They've come back! Please come back, guys, we need you, please come back, please! Like, I get it's different versions of them, right? But I just don't care. Let them die. They had the perfect send-off, and the only way you're gonna get new characters, and characters people love as much as these, is if you make new characters. And I know there have been, and I know they might be missing, but I'd rather a swing and a miss than this. Oh. I think the first map, play the new one, you know, editing takes a while. I think the first map is fine. I think it's okay. I hate these little guys. And I really think the start, like traveling to each section and, you know, the car and all that stuff, like blowing up and breaking and all the weird things attacking your face really is annoying. But overall, I think the map is fine. Like, to talk about the car point, I think because the map is so big, which is also something I'm not a big fan of, again, the map itself and the game mode itself, especially with this map, feels a bit Warzone-y. Like, you will know what I mean when you play it. I think the bear mini-boss is sick, and I actually think it's very challenging, but my God, turn the spawn rate down. I put in my notes here, why does it spawn so much? It spawns like every round or two, which is just insane. Tweak it a little bit, but the boss itself, very cool, very challenging, big fan. I think visually the map looks cool and plays pretty well. I think it being so big does kind of ruin its playability or like replayability, like sort of like, you know, how Liberty Falls was at launch. But overall, that might just be a me thing. And I will say, I'm kind of conflicted about how each different section feels. As you could say, it almost feels like a map of assets just thrown together. But I also kind of like it, so I don't know how to feel about it, and I think time will only tell on that point of how I really do feel about it. But yeah, I think the map's fine. I'm not personally a big fan of it because I think the map's too big. I don't think it's very replayable, and I think because, again, I put in my notes here, the game feels cheap again, especially zombies looks very cheap. It almost feels like a mobile event again. And it's just the way this game looks. You will understand if you haven't played it yet, or even if you have been playing, you will understand what I mean. The game just looks and has this feel of every game mode looks cheap. You know what I mean? Even the menus. But the zombies gameplay is really fun. And in fact, whilst it's not my cup of tea, oh, Britannia, I could really understand why someone would like Ashes of the Damned. The weapons can be cool packed. The Wonder Weapon for map 1 looks awesome, it's challenging, plays and feels fun, and the survival mode, game mode, map, whatever you want to say, oh my God, is this map or game mode or whatever actually just so fun. Like, side note, I think it's outrageous to call this a map, but I don't, technicality aside, I don't really care because, man, I think this is so much more fun, like the survival mode, than Ashes of the Damned. I think this is amazing. You have a small map to train everywhere, everything you need is in a great location, and simply put, the map is just fun to play on, man. As a kid, I loved Farm, but this map is everything I wanted Farm to be because I love Farm, but the no Pack a Punch really killed it for me. And I know that was the whole point of Farm, was a challenge to see how well you could survive with nothing but the bare minimum and perks. But this map is just amazing. It's concise, has everything you need for high rounds, and it's chaotic, but it's controlled chaos. Would it be, it's chaos, it's controlled chaos, but you can't really say the map is chaos, the map is chaotic, right? But yeah, I know people aren't a big fan of the Warzone-ification of sort of zombies like you have with the armor plates and self-revive kits. I'm gonna be real. Side note, been a zombie fan my entire life. I kind of like it. I'm sorry. I like upgrading my gun. I like the salvage. I like the shields. I think it's a nice touch. I think it does a lot to the zombie formula. I'm sorry. Please don't hate me. Please don't let this disregard the entire video. But yeah, overall, I just think zombies is the best part of this game. It's basically identical to Black Ops 6's zombies. Again, I thought that was the best part of that game. So if you like Black Ops 6 zombies, you'll like this. But that actually brings me to my big point I actually have to say. Whilst I think the best part of this game is the zombies, it's identical to Black Ops 6. And I mean, I guess that this is really the big problem everyone has with like the past 5 CODs, right? They're so similar and they're just basically identical to each other, right? And that's the thing, Black Ops 7 zombies is identical to Black Ops 6's. But yeah, I know I've said it a lot, I'm not the first to say it and I won't be the last, but a lot of people are pointing out how Black Ops 7 zombies is basically just the same as Black Ops 6. They are legit the same thing. So if you liked 6, you'll like 7. Don't do it. But you see, that legit the same thing is actually incredibly important because you may have remembered earlier in the video, I said how this COD is arguably the most important and relevant in the franchise in its history. And there's a reason for that. This Call of Duty is incredibly important because I believe this Call of Duty, more than any of the others, show what COD as a franchise is now. People have called this the worst Call of Duty in existence and called it one of the worst games of 2025, but in actual fact, it's nothing more than just an okay game. Nothing more, nothing less, but that's the problem. This franchise pushed the FPS genre to new boundaries, new heights. This franchise was once a must-play, must-buy game each year, and now a year goes by and you can skip it with no regret, no remorse, no FOMO, no nothing. COD has become the junk food of the gaming industry. And in fact, whilst I was doing my research for this video, I came across a streamer who just perfectly put into words what this series is now. And they described COD as the Fast and Furious of the gaming world. And I can't think of words more perfectly fitting to sum up what this franchise is now. COD, Fast and Furious. Fast and Furious, COD. COD is the Fast and Furious of the gaming industry. This game costing £70 or $70 freedom bucks, yeah, is nothing short of a joke. This game is just Black Ops 6, but uglier, somehow more cheap feeling, and in many ways, I would argue a huge step down from its predecessor. Hell, I'd even argue it's a huge step down compared to many of the other previous entries in the COD franchise. Call of Duty is one of the most expensive games yearly to make, with Black Ops 6 costing $700 million to make, and I can't find a source that states accurately how much BO7 cost to make, but I can't imagine it being much less, and my god, is that not just an insane thing to say. In fact, sales, numbers, player counts, etc. COD have been quite hidden with that stuff, and I think it doesn't take a genius to see why. This game is just okay. £70 worth? Hell no. But it's okay. But the reason why it's had such huge backlash, huge uproar, and why so many people think it's so bad is because the COD players know what good COD used to be. And unfortunately, instead of, COD being good, it's just, well, this now. During my time playing this game, I was constantly asking myself, who is this game made for? Because COD has always had 3 types of players, right? You've had the campaign, the multiplayer, and the zombies. And now, well, thanks to Warzone, you have 4 different types of people for one game. And really, if you think about it, Warzone is also kind of separated because Warzone, you have Resurgence players, and then you have the normal main Warzone players. So really, that's 5 types of people you have to cater to. 5! There is a raging sentiment in the community that Warzone is a key factor in ruining this franchise, and I can understand that. But my biggest thing is, I just can't tell who this game is made for anymore. And importantly, I don't think COD themselves know who COD is made for anymore. Call me crazy. You have zombies and the campaign trying to pull on old players' nostalgic heartstrings, and then you have Warzone and multiplayer looking like this.
Bon voyage, little nigga. What goes up must come down.
Oh my god, I finally hit it.
To bring in the streamers and the TikTok kids. But I feel like COD has really cut its demographic in half now. You have the old school players who have been playing since the MW days, and then you have this new wave and new era of kids who play just for TikTok clips, Twitch, YouTube, streaming, all that stuff, right? And unfortunately, with all these demographics to please, I think that makes for a game like Black Ops 7. A game which is okay to play, but it feels cheap, looks cheap, and really leaves you thinking, who is this for? COD is still selling incredibly well. Well, I think, but they haven't really released Black Ops 7 numbers, so we don't know. But anyway, I digress. COD is still selling incredibly well, but much like a similar other franchise, FIFA, or EAFC if you will, it's experiencing lower and lower and vastly dropping player counts compared to previous years. And I think that's just because many players are experiencing what others call franchise fatigue. And that's really the main point I want to leave you guys with. COD has been a franchise which has yearly, regularly released, that's a tongue twister, since 2003. That's a game every year for over 20 years. And whilst many think, oh, COD needs to do this, they need to stop the yearly releases, they need to go back to doing this, I truly believe we have just seen everything this franchise has to offer. People thought boots on the ground would save the game. People thought, oh, maybe jetpacks will. Maybe wall riding. Or, maybe an old school, old fashioned game will save COD. But no, sadly nothing can make these games feel like the good old days, because the good old days are gone and they aren't coming back. Series fatigue is a common phenomenon in other mediums, but because gaming is a medium in itself, which is in its infancy, we just haven't seen it that often. But unfortunately, COD is maybe one of the first few games, or one of a wide select now, that have just ran its course. COD has seen its peaks, and it's slowly, rapidly some would say, hitting its decline. Unfortunately, whilst COD has given us some incredible times and incredible memories, this series is done. And I think that's what is so hard to admit for many. Because you want to know the truth on why, whilst each COD is progressively getting worse, the uproar and dislikes and hates and comments and everything isn't the same as, say, it was when Infinite Warfare had that trailer and that whole saga of game releasing. It's because, simply put, people just don't care about COD anymore. Simply. And with so many other incredible games and franchises out now, why would you waste your time and money on a game that is just or even bad, even if you are a die-hard fan of what COD is? And that is why I think Black Ops 7 is the most relevant and important release in this franchise, because it's the best COD to sum up perfectly what this franchise is now. Nothing bad, but nothing great. And coming from a long-time player and a long-time lover of this franchise, that's tough to say, and it's tough to see. Thank you for watching.